So Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is out and the reviews are in, with most of them being negative rather than positive, but I have to say I do think some of these are out of touch, and that is because they reviewed it based on the game that they wanted rather than the game that it is, and that is evident with the comparisons to the Arkham series games, which I can kind of understand because if you are a fan of Rocksteady, that is what they are known for. But they have been really transparent from day one, saying that this is a live service game and not a single player game. I will also like to add that including this game into the Arkhamverse, in my opinion, is part of the reason why it's been received so badly, along with people being extremely upset about Batman. But I just want to say it's okay that we share a difference of opinion. There is nothing wrong with that. We can still have healthy discussions around a hobby that we all love. It's just when the insult starts that it just starts getting stupid and people just can't be bothered with that. But with that being said, the review outlets and content creators have all been giving their thoughts and opinions on Suicide Squad, and some of the wording around the game is well over the top, with titles like it's soul crushing, gross, awful, what the fuck happened, and it's the end of Rocksteady. I can't actually help but feel that some of this is pure and simply just to get interactions because the popular thing right now is bashing this game. So if we look over IGN's review, they actually gave it a 5 out of 10. Yes, you read that correct, a 5 out of 10. This game is not that bad. It isn't one score better than Redfall. But to be honest, did we expect anything other than that because of what happened between them and Warner Brothers, with Warner Brothers telling them to do one over a review code? So there was already a bit of negative bias there anyway, but I'm actually going to go out and say that the reviewer Simon Cardy made some really valid points, to be fair, and you can tell that he did actually enjoy the game. At the end of the first paragraph, he says this: "But beyond that, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League never consistently offers enough fun to go toe-to-toe with the successful games in this genre." To be honest, I will say I think this statement here is very premature because this game has been out for not even a week. Other games in this genre have been out for years, so they've had time to get feedback from their communities, implement changes, add new systems, and add more content. Do you know what? By all means, review this game on face value, but to compare this game to that of the likes of Destiny, Warframe, and The Division, it just isn't fair because them games have been out for years. Some of them are even on their second installment. He then goes on to say that the combat system didn't make sense as it isn't in line with the Suicide Squad, but later on in the review he says Suicide Squad has you zooming around at speed, hurling bullets into enemies at a relentless pace, and it's undeniably impressive at times, and he even praises the mechanics such as shield harvest, weapon reload, and afflictions. And he finishes off with, once you eventually get to grips with all of the kit, a tight and satisfying rhythm can be found. But further down the line he says, they do each have signature melee and traversal attacks like Harley's sweeping baseball bat hits or Boomerang's enemy chaining namesake, but the overwhelming focus here is on shooting and collecting an increasingly powerful arsenal of guns. So they do have signature traits that are in line with the Suicide Squad, and shooting and collecting an increasingly powerful arsenal of guns, would you believe it, is part of a looter shooter. So yes, that is why I feel some of these reviews are out of touch. He also says, just go into Metropolis expecting something a bit more hectic than the slower puzzle-like encounters found around Gotham. If you like the slower puzzle-like encounters found around Gotham, like in the Arkham games, and you don't like multiplayer live service games, then yeah, this game isn't for you because it wasn't made for you. It was made for people that like looter shooters, for live service games. It's not meant to feel like that. It's meant to be fast-paced, running and gunning. And that's where this game excels at. It doesn't excel at being slow with puzzle-like encounters. That's just not what it's meant to be. And going back to what I said about having this game as part of the Arkhamverse wasn't a great idea, I think this review hit the nail on the head here, to be honest, with this bit about Penguin, saying, speaking of getting up close and personal, I couldn't help but notice how Rocksteady's dramatic shift from a single-player story to a co-op looter shooter diminished the other characters that inhabit Metropolis. This is perhaps best exemplified by the Penguin's role in Suicide Squad, the once powerful Gotham crime boss who was crucial to the events of the Arkham series, including one of the trilogy's most memorable levels in Arkham City, is reduced to nothing but a weapons vendor this time round. And I get it. I absolutely get it. Did they have to put Penguin in there? No. But as they've included this game in part of the Arkhamverse, I can see why players that love the Arkham series are slightly annoyed about this. That is where I'm going to keep my feet fully on the ground and look at it from both sides. Then two videos I come across on YouTube really stood out to me, and these were from Matty Plays and Luke Stevens, and this is because of the words they used to describe the game. Luke saying Suicide Squad is vapid, repetitive and gross, and Matty Plays saying Suicide Squad is a soul-crushing experience. Luke was talking about how he had technical problems and server issues. Now, technical problems, they can be isolated incidents, so we can't really comment on that. But apart from the 6 hours downtime in early access, myself and my pals and other people I've been talking to have had no server problems at all. But the best part is the disrespect he felt when Boomerang pissed on the Flash and the squad congratulated him on his big dick. Everyone's saying that Suicide Squad isn't in line with the comics or the lore, but don't you think this moment is? The Suicide Squad are a bunch of convicts that don't give a fuck. So in that moment, Boomerang, who doesn't like Flash, and finally killed him, decided he wanted to take a piss on him. And the other guys just made a joke about Boomerang saying, well done mate, because you're not blessed with much else. I don't see what is wrong with that. That is just a bit of adult banter in a computer game that is rated 18 and above. I would just like to add that after speaking to a few people though, I do get the kind of disappointment around the Batman scene because the Arkham games and Batman are much loved. So with this game being in the Arkhamverse, yes, maybe Rocksteady could have written that a little bit better. But moving on, Luke does mention quite a few times that enemies they've got purple pimples and you have to shoot them. But yeah, we do, because these purple pimples are what known in this genre called crit spots, and this isn't a new thing. These are usually reserved for tougher enemies, so Kill the Justice League isn't doing anything different here. And he also mentions that the boss fights weren't unique. Now, apart from Green Lantern and Flash, I actually agree with him because I definitely expected more from Batman. I just want to add Batman was a super disappointing fight. And Superman. Superman was more annoying than anything else, to be honest. They should have been more unique. But when he says the campaign is short, people need to realise that this is a live service game, and they have never been flushed out campaigns, and Suicide Squad, in my opinion, actually does this better than most in this genre. His main complaints don't make this game vapid and gross at all, and to be honest, I think it shows that maybe live service games aren't his main type of genre. This game, again, wasn't catered for people like that. Then we got Matty Plays. He actually says he does prefer single player games and he's not really a live service person, and this definitely showed in his video. He felt it was strange that other characters don't level up with us, but this is how live service games work. You have to level each character individually. He also said it's impossible not to compare it to the Arkham trilogy. Now, one is a single player story based game and the other is a third person live service looter shooter. There is no comparison to be had here. What I found the most baffling is the uninspired gameplay Luke take. Now, everyone's entitled to their own opinion and people like different things, but this game, once you get used to the combat, is exceptional. It's super immersive. Traversing, sliding, jumping, shooting, using your melee and using your super link up extremely well. It is fluid as fuck. Now, is that enough on its own to keep you playing this game for months and months? Absolutely not. No, Rocksteady do need to give us more content, which they have. We've got a year full of free content. There's literally nothing to complain about. If you don't like the game, fair enough. But he did go on to say that the game is beautiful, which I totally agree with. I think the game looks really good. Metropolis is really, really nice. And he did say that the UI is not good, which I have to agree with. The UI is just way too much going on at once. And because of the UI, I did kind of struggle with the Flash fight, I must be honest. Not as bad as the IGN preview article. I managed to get through it because, you know, that's what you do as gamers. You just get through stuff. But I have to say the UI can be a bit too much at times. But I do think both of these takes were swayed by their love of the Arkham games and the fact that they probably didn't get their head around that it is a live service game. But to say Suicide Squad is soul-crushing, nah, I'm just not having that. You must have gone in there expecting something which it just definitely wasn't. I would just like to say that IGN's conduct is really shit. With articles like this, a lot of fans are hopping mad about Batman's role in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and rightly so. Here's why Kevin Conroy's Batman is wasted in the game. To the point where colleagues that used to work with Kevin have had to come out and defend the actual game. It's ridiculous. IGN, with the traction they've got, shouldn't be peddling shit like this, but it just goes to show what type of news outlet they are. And Amy Lee Shaw, who used to work with Kevin, quoted their tweet saying, Kevin was our teammate, and many of us worked with him directly for years. I would expect games journalists to know that and understand how callous it is to use his memory to stoke hatred. We do not need strangers to tell us what he would have thought. He told us himself. Well done, Amy. And it is really bad that you have to come out and say stuff like that because massive news outlets want to keep stoking the flames. It's utterly ridiculous. Personally, for me, I would actually give the game a 7 out of 10 so far. As a live service game, it does need more variety in the end game, I'm not going to lie. But Rocksteady do have a year plan, and that content is free, so it's extremely player friendly. There's nothing to lose, it's all free. They do actually need to give us something like strikes, or even use some of the story spaces like the Batman Museum. There is a lot of cool stuff within the story that they could reuse, just like most live service games do. They repurpose their content to change it up a little, just to keep it feeling a little bit fresh. Also, I think the weapons feel absolutely solid to me and the characters feel great. Although I will say that the skill tree could do with a bit more work, it is a bit too linear for my liking. Hopefully down the line they can experiment and add more skills or more perks. The reason why live service games are so hard to judge is in a year's time this game could look totally different and be an absolute mega hit, or it just could be done and dusted. We'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully Rocksteady can do what they need to do, and Warner Brothers gives them the time to do it. But is it the best live service game? Absolutely not. It's got a lot of work to do, but if anyone can do it, Rocksteady can. Yes, they're in territory they've never been in before in terms of live service, but what they need is the backing of Warner Brothers, and the only issue with that is Warner Brothers unfortunately are a corporation that wants to make money. If this game isn't making enough money, you best believe that Warner Brothers will chop it down, just like what happened with Anthem and Avengers. But this game does have a year's worth of free content like I've just said. There is no time gating, there are offline servers coming, so it already does have a lot of good core qualities that other live service games don't have, or they didn't have at the beginning. Yes, it does have a store, but is it the worst microtransactional store? Not at all. Anyway guys, that is the end of the video. If you've enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, take care and I'll see you on the next video.